So folks, in this pre-work, I'd like to look at the unit step function. So this unit step function, and sometimes it's called the Heaviside function, and we're going to denote it this way with step t. It returns 0 for negative values of t, and it returns 1 for non-negative values of t. So another way of saying that is the step function of t. What does it do? Well, it depends on the values of t. It returns 0 if t is negative, and it returns 1 if t is greater than or equal to 0. So the way we can imagine this is that this is like flipping on a switch. At time t equals 0, we flip on a switch and it starts broadcasting the number 1. But until time equals 0, the broadcast signal is a 0. So another way we could do that is, let's look at the graph of this. So down here, I'm skipping down a little bit. Let's go ahead and graph step t. So let's draw ourselves a little axis here. Here's time, and here is our step t value. And let's see here, we need the number 1 on here. And so what does this function do? It broadcasts a 0 for all negative values of t. So that's right on the t-axis there. And it starts broadcasting a 1 just as soon as time reaches 0. So you can think of it as the switch is off, the switch is off, the switch is off. We arrive at time t equals 0, and there we have the instantaneous flipping of the switch, and now it's broadcasting the number 1. So let's extend this a little bit. Let's look at taking that unit step function, and we're going to shift it to the right along the t-axis by a unit. So the way we'll denote that is we'll say step t minus a. You should think of this as taking the graph of this function, and we're going to shift it to the right a unit. So how does this behave? Well, it again broadcasts a 0, but now it does it for t values less than a, and it broadcasts a 1 if t is greater than or equal to a. So what does the graph of this look like? Let's do this one over here. So here is our t-axis, and here is our step. This is the graph of step t minus a. And so we need to put an a value on here. Let's go ahead and put a value of 1 right here, and here's our value of a. And so how does this function work? Well, it's going to broadcast 0 until we get to time t equals a. And then what is it going to do? So I'd like you to pause the video and sketch the other half of this graph. Once we get to time t equals a, what's this graph going to do? So pause the video and fill it in. And so once we get to time t equals a, this is what we end up with for the graph. So it broadcasts a 0 until we arrive at certain time value, and that a value is the time that the switch is flipped. So you could think of that as we flip the switch at time t equals a. All right, folks, I'll see you in the next video.